Welcome, children. Today we are going to take a journey to the land of Israel and learn about a prophet named Jonah. Do you know what a prophet is? A prophet is someone whom Yahweh tells to give a message to others. Yahweh used prophets a lot to urge his people Israel to repent and change their ways, so that he wouldn't give them the curses he warned them about for disobeying him. You see, Yahweh loves his people very much. That's why he would send an obedient prophet to give them a chance to turn and follow in his ways so that they wouldn't be punished. That's exactly what your parents do, isn't it? They will tell you to straighten up so they won't have to punish you for continuing to disobey them. In this story, Yahweh did something he hadn't done before. He sent his prophet Jonah to people that weren't even the children of Israel. I wonder what Yahweh was up to. Jonah never asked Yahweh about it, but he knew this was something that had never happened before. And there was no way he wanted to go to a city where none of the people believed in Yahweh at all. So he disobeyed by running away from Yahweh and getting on a ship that was heading the opposite way from Nineveh. The ship was going west to a city called Tarshish in Spain. Jonah must have been very tired because he went down to the deepest part of the ship and fell sound asleep. But then Yahweh sent a big storm to get his attention. The sea men became very afraid and started praying to their pagan god. Their prayers did no good at all because the storm only got worse. So they decided to throw away some of the supplies the ship carried in order to make the ship lighter. Even the captain must have been afraid because he awoke Jonah and told him to pray to Yahweh his God. But Jonah kept his mouth shut. So the men decided to do something to see if anyone on board might be the cause of the storm. Remember the story of Esther, where Haman cast lots to see what day the Jews would die? Well, the sea men did the same thing. They cast lots, and it fell on Jonah. Jonah decided to come clean about what was going on. He explained that his God was Yahweh, who made the sea, the dry land, and that he was running away from him. This made the captain and the seamen even more afraid. They asked Jonah what they should do. Jonah decided that the only way they could survive was for the sailors to throw him into the sea. Well, these men didn't want to do that, so they tried to row hard to get to the shore. Yahweh had a different idea. He made the storm get stronger. Before the crew threw Jonah into the water, they asked Yahweh for forgiveness because they had no other choice. As soon as they threw Jonah overboard, the sea grew calm. The astonished sailors then made an offering and promises to Yahweh. It reminds me of when Yahweh sent all the plagues upon Mitzrayim, so that the Mitzrites started to believe in Yahweh and left their country with the Israelites. After Jonah fell into the water, a huge fish came along and swallowed Jonah. For 3 days and 3 nights, Jonah lived in the belly of that fish, where he had a lot of time to think and pray about what he had done. He remembered that the one he was running away from was the only one who could save him. And because Jonah humbled himself and gave Yahweh thanksgiving, Yahweh spoke to the fish, and the fish spit Jonah right out onto the land. Yahweh decided to give Jonah a second chance to go to Nineveh and tell them the message he had spoken to him. Do you think Jonah followed orders this time? You better believe he did. Jonah walked 3 days to get to Nineveh and immediately began to tell the people that in 40 days Nineveh was going to be destroyed. If some person you didn't know just showed up in your town and told you such a thing, would you believe him? Well, the people of that city did believe. They all began to fast and put on sackcloth, which is a type of rough clothing that means you are very sad and very serious about something. Remember when Esther's cousin Mordecai also did this? Well, the king of Nineveh heard about what was going on in his palace and decided to do the same thing. He even put ashes on himself, which showed how serious he was. Do you think the king had heard stories about what Yahweh did to Mitzrayim and the pagan nations that were in the land of Israel? Well, even if he hadn't heard, he must have believed Jonah, because he commanded that everyone had to fast, even the animals. He told them that they should all stop doing anything evil or violent, hoping that Yahweh would forgive them and not punish them. Now Yahweh saw the good works that the king and his people did, so he told Jonah that he was not going to destroy the city after all. Do you think Jonah was happy that the people of Nineveh repented? No, he wasn't. He knew that Yahweh was kind and compassionate and did not want to have to kill these people. Jonah actually got mad at Yahweh, complaining that his whole reason for fleeing to Tarshish was that he knew Yahweh would probably forgive them and nothing would happen. I wonder why Jonah thought he could talk to Yahweh this way. Have you ever talked back to your parents? Well, just like your parents, Yahweh was not happy with Jonah's griping. Jonah acted so childish that he even asked Yahweh to take his life. Can you imagine an adult acting this way? Jonah decided to sit outside the city to watch what Yahweh was going to do. It must have been pretty hot out there because Jonah tried to find shelter. Yahweh kindly took care of him by causing a plant to grow up very quickly so Jonah's head would be protected from the scorching sun. Jonah was very happy to have this plant until Yahweh decided to send a worm that caused the plant to dry up. Jonah became so hot and miserable under that burning sun that he once again said that he wished he could die. Yahweh had to speak to him the way a parent talks to a child, asking him if he really thought he had a right to act that way. He told Jonah that just as he felt bad about the plant dying, so Yahweh felt concerned about all those people and was glad they'd repented. You see, Yahweh had told Abraham long ago that he would be the father of many nations. The people of Nineveh were part of those people, because following and obeying Torah made them also children of Yahweh. And so the story ends. Do you think Jonah was sorry for his behavior? Or do you think he was a bit like the other brother of the prodigal son, who was jealous? Do you remember? He was jealous because Yahweh loved the runaway brother too. I'm so glad that Yahweh cares about everyone, and that he forgives those who are truly sorry for what they did, so that they can make things right with him. Well, children, we have come to the end of our story for today. So we will see you next time for another exciting Torah portion. Shalom.